Hey, what's up, boxing fans? This is the Rope Dope Report. I am your host, Chris Carlson. I'm back with a prediction show. It is the fight that a lot of people want, a lot of people have been craving. Um, there's Manny Pacquiao. I love him, but man, he takes a long time. He's kind of a prima donna now with signing fights, and you got to do what you got to do. A lot of people jump on Floyd for his business decisions or his negotiations process. But when you're talking about 65-35 or 70-30, that shouldn't take long, you know what I mean? And I know it has to do with his promoters, but when push comes to shove, Bob Arum and Freddie Roach, they got to listen to Pacquiao because he is the cash cow and he is what counts. So they can say their little 2 cents and say that, but you know what it came to is Pacquiao got on the phone, talked to his advisor, talked to Arum, the fight was done. So it's at 145. Rumor has it, Cotto, he weighed in at 146, which is a little different because usually he weighs in 147, which means that, I've heard there's speculation that he did have a little trouble making the weight last time. So, usually fighters are right on the weight or real close, not a pound off. That usually means that they lost some weight of late, but he'll know in advance. And I think if he ever wanted to fight Pacquiao, I think he kind of knew. He should have been smart with his weight at least and not put a bunch on anyway. So 145, I don't think it'll drain him. I think he can make it. You'll know real early in the fight. And I'm not saying, if he, knocks him out or, knocks him out in 2 rounds that it was the weight. I'm not going to say that. Don't get me wrong. If he does what he did to Hatton, which he won't, I don't think. But if he did, I wouldn't be like, he's weight trained. I'm saying you can tell when a fighter, when you see a fighter, his last 10 fights, and he may have fought minorly different in each fight, matters who he was facing, but you could tell if he's weight trained or not. And so I think he can make it. It does seem like he couldn't make 143, and he was standing his ground on that, so that tells you something right there. I think that gives you enough information, that he actually thinks that he can make that weight. I don't know what that noise is. Sounds like some dogs getting Michael Vick. I don't know. Little joke there. Anyway, let's break down the fight. Pacquiao and Cotto. Of late, Pacquiao's been in plenty of wars, and he used to just fight that war style, and that's how he'd lose once in a while. When Morales beat him, it was because he didn't just win a round. He tried to knock him out every time, and you could see the adjustment he made. I think you could see the same thing about the first Marquez with Pacquiao fight, and it ended in a draw. And the fact that the reason why it was a draw, and I think Marquez won that first fight, but the reason why it was a draw is because he wouldn't get back to basics and wouldn't just try to win the round. He just tried to knock him out with almost every punch. And we know you can't fight that way. But if you notice in the second fight, it was a tight fight. Both of them tight fights. I'm not here to argue. It's not a video about that, okay? But you could see he got back to the 1-2. The 1-2. The 1-2. He got back to just winning that round and using his in-out, in-out, in-out style that he's developed in more head movement. And I always say, his head movement's so much better. And people go, no, he's been doing this for a while. Yeah, he's been doing this for a while, but he'd do it for the first minute of the round, and then he'd just brawl, or the first 30 seconds of the round. Now he gets back to it. You know what I mean? So Pacquiao has been in plenty of wars, but if you look at the last 3 fights, since that Marquez fight in 2008 March, he hasn't been in a war. He's been the dominator. And his style has improved. Obviously against David Diaz, I believe that was the 5th best fighter. If you count Marquez coming up from 130, he was the 5th best fighter at that weight. But and he couldn't help that Oscar came in a little weight drained. Oscar signed the fight. Too bad, you know what I mean? You can't take away from Pacquiao. Obviously you gotta think about it when you're judging that fight. But the fact is, he took on Oscar, and he was willing to go from 135 to up to a welterweight fight, skipping a division. So you got to respect him for taking that. And then the Hatton fight, a lot of people say Hatton's past his prime. He looked good against Malignaggi. I think if he would have fought like he did against Malignaggi, he maybe would have lasted a couple more rounds or a handful more rounds, but he still would have got beat. So Pacquiao of late has really improved his style, and he's more worried about not getting hit. But yet he has that aggressive style. He still has carried the power and the speed up. So he's a very, very improved fighter, who is already a really solid to great fighter, and now he is a great fighter, and he's really, really improved, and he'll just try to win a round now, not necessarily just win it all in one punch. Cotto, basically since the Mosley fight, he's slowly gone down, and I really think it's mental. A lot of people are saying he's shot, and Cotto should take a year off. Let me see what I got for time. He should take a year off. If you think about it, he fought last July 26th, and then he took a big break till February, late February. So that's a pretty long break just there. Plus, he had training camp, but the fight didn't take anything out of him because Jennings was a chump. So he's kind of taken a big break in a sense. Now, I don't think he took a beating against Clottey. Now, I had Clottey winning the fight by 1 round, by a point. I could see if you had it a draw. I could see if you had Cotto winning by 1 round. That means it's 6-6 and the knockdown came to it. That's fine. I'm not here to argue that. But he didn't get beat up against him. The cut was bad, don't get me wrong, and I guess that's a problem there, the cut. But I think it's mentally with Cotto. I don't think physically he's too beat up. I think once things start going bad, he's always had even though he's got a good jab and he moves like he did in the Mosley fight and like he did in the Clottey fight and like he should have done even more in the Margarito fight. He was trying to, but he was too tired by the end. But, he's always been hurt in his fights, though. So I guess it's how he responded before. At 140, he got hurt a bunch of times in fights, but he responded much stronger. So, now there was times in that Clottey fight that Clottey, if he just was a little more aggressive, I'm not saying he could have knocked him out, but he definitely could have won that fight. I think we all know. I was one of the only guys that picked Clottey, and I didn't get any hate mail from Cotto fans. Let's put it that way. You know what I mean? So, and I had I'm not bragging or nothing, but there were 6,000 fans because Cotto's a popular fighter, and you always have more views no matter how good your video is when you put Pacquiao down or Mayweather or Cotto. These are just popular fighters. So I had a bunch of views on that video and didn't catch a lot of heat for picking it. And usually, all the boxing shows out there know when you're wrong, you get heat. You know what I mean? And the more popular the fighter, the more heat you get. And sometimes not even a popular fighter. They'll just jump on and say, oh, you're wrong, just that, you suck. But nobody said that to me. So we all know it was a tight fight, and it was there to be won. But here's the thing about Cotto. I don't think he's shot physically because he's still got speed. He's got a good jab. His thing is he needs to keep it on the outside and box. But that's the problem. Can he keep it on the outside and box? Not just with Pacquiao. I'll get to that in a second. But he just doesn't do that. He'll do that for half the fight, but then he brawls. He gets into it. Plus, he likes to go to the body, and you got to get inside, turn your hips, and plant to land a good body shot, usually, or good shots anyway. So I feel like he's going to try to do that and keep on the outside. I got a minute left. But, I don't know if it's going to be. And not only that, but Pacquiao is just so aggressive, it's hard to keep him on the outside. At some point, you're going to have to brawl him. You saw that with Marquez with timing shots. And that's what I think. Cotto has a chance with timing shots in that jab to do it. But I think mentally, this is where Pacquiao is going to win. I don't think it's going to be a KO. Because even with the Margarito plaster in his hands maybe, Cotto didn't go down. He just took knees. He doesn't go down for shit, really. I mean, he's gone down, but he gets up. Or he'll get hurt and then recover. So I like Pacquiao by decision. But I think early on, you're going to know. And I'm not trying to be on both sides of this pick, but if Cotto's shots affect Pacquiao, like you're like, oh, that type of thing, then Cotto's going to win this fight. But I don't think it's going to be that way. I think it's going to be a great fight, great brawl, full of the ups and downs. But I see Pacquiao coming out. I think the speed, and once he gets him hurt, or at least thinking mentally start to break down Cotto, and he starts to struggle, that on the rope stuff and that stuff's not going to work, because I don't think he's great at defense. I think he's good at defense, but I don't see Cotto great at defense. So I got Pacquiao. Anyway, this is the Rope and Dope Report. I'm your host, Chris Carlson. Peace.